Hi everyone, it's Ronnie here, and today I've got Christine Heath. Christine is a world-renowned marriage and family therapist. She has been sharing the true principles understanding for over 30 years, and she's also a consultant and trainer and trains different organizations around this understanding. And she's co-authored a book called The Secret of Love, which I have read and would highly recommend. Welcome, Christine. So lovely to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me do this with you.
It's my pleasure, Christine, and thank you for agreeing to be one of the speakers for the Beyond Diagnosis program, which I'm so excited about. It was none other than Bill Pettit who actually recommended that you would be a really good fit to be one of the speakers because of your extensive work as a mental health professional and helping people with mental health challenges. It just made so much sense to me. I would like to ask you something that I think is really important for people with mental health challenges that I see in my daily practice, in my clinical practice. And because I know you are an expert in that field, which is about relationships, Christine. And one of the things that has come to my understanding or my awareness more and more is that we know relationship with others is important and how that kind of that close relationship and how we get along with others. But I also noticed that people struggle with themselves and having a relationship with themselves. And most people do say that I just don't feel good enough, or I hate myself even.
I became a marriage and family therapist in the 70s. And of course, I was about 14 then, but no. So I've been doing this work for a long time. And the field of mental health has changed a lot over that time. And the diagnostic book has grown by inches. And to me, the reason people come to see me is because they're not happy. And usually they think it's because of somebody in their life, somebody that did something to them in the past, or somebody that they're in a relationship with in the present. Because it's so elusive, the power of thought to create this illusion that the outside world creates our bad feeling. So to me, like mostly the reason people come for mental health counseling is because they have trouble relating to somebody, themselves, other people. Very few people come in because they can't relate well to their car. So that's why I got into this, because I thought initially I became a marriage and family therapist because that particular school of thought looked at people as just having interaction problems. That if people could change what they said, how they said it, and how they interacted with each other, that they would be able to get along better. And so when I came upon the principles, it was such a shift for me, and people changed so dramatically that I have stayed with this ever since that time. And I'm continuing to be, I have a full-time practice. And what I see with people is that when people start to see that they have the ability to live in a state of mental well-being, and that's inside of them and not contingent on the outside world, their ability to get along with other people and have better relationships changes without effort. And most people actually see this in their daily life anyway. I have a couple that I'm working with right now, and they just recently, the husband said, I want to get a divorce. I'm not happy and I want to get a divorce. And the wife called me and asked me for some help. And she said, I don't understand it. We were just on vacation in August. We went to the lake for a month and we had a wonderful time and everything was great. And then we came back home and yeah, this happened and that happened, blah, blah, blah. But she said, I just don't understand what happened with him. And it's interesting because you can be in this great state of mind and you don't have problems in your relationship. And then as soon as you get stressed or you start to get busy in your mind, you get busy with life, you get busy with work, you get busy with problems that other people might be experiencing, and you stop connecting because your mind doesn't get quiet with each other. You don't take that time to really live in a state of mental well-being. And so what I do with people is I tell people that when they come in for any kind of relationship, whether it's with themselves or with other people, that their ability to have a beautiful relationship is always just one thought away. Sydney Banks said that, he said, the only problem in any relationship is negative thought. And when people start to see that negative thought that they're experiencing is actually coming from them, it's, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not my wife. And they get into a better feeling. And then all of a sudden, they change in how they react to each other. So to me, that's the hope, is that if people can see that their relationship, so to speak, isn't broken, that they're just probably both in a state of stress or a state of insecurity for whatever reason, that they can get back to that innate state of mental well-being and be in love with each other. That's why the name of my book is, that I did with Lori Karpanos, is The Secret of Love, Unlocking the Mystery, which is why do we have such trouble with relationships, love relationships, and unleashing the magic. And when we unleash, when we tap into that innate health, the feeling that comes out does the work in changing your relationship. As we grow up, when we go through life, stuff happens. Some of it's really bad and some of it's not so bad. Our thoughts about that is what we carry through time. And so as we go through life, we start to develop ways of thinking about relationships, about marriage, about whether I'm loved or not, whether I'm good enough or not. And when people don't see that's just a thought that they're having, that they tie it, like, to me, my thoughts used to be like, would come in like that. And it'd feel like, this is God speaking, you are stupid. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's true, I am. Because I thought it so many times, and the more you think about something, the more real it gets, right? So over time, when you're thinking this, you stop realizing that it's just you thinking it, that it's not the truth. And so when people don't see that, it's like those thoughts are invisible to you. Like, I was a therapist and I knew that people's thinking affected them, but I didn't see it. And when I saw it, that it was just thought, and that what I was thinking wasn't actually accurate, I thought that was hilarious. I laughed for about 3 days because I thought, oh my God, I've been in therapy for 7 years and I'm analyzing my own thinking. Like, I made this up and now I'm analyzing it and determining what it all means. So, because of course, when you do that, it gets more real. So one of the things that happens when people get into really low levels of understanding, of feeling, is that they frequently have patterns of thought about themselves that are really negative. And some people then beat themselves up in their head. They have attacking thoughts, or they're feeling literally attacked by their own thoughts. So recognizing that they're the thinker, to me, is another huge thing. It's like when people recognize that, oh, this is me thinking. Like right now, I'm working with men who are violent with women. And so they have lots of thinking about who makes them react, how this woman in their life is causing them to act like this. And that experience is what is so ingrained in them over time that they're reacting at the drop of a hat. And what they're reacting to is their own thinking. Like, they usually think they're not respected. They usually think they're like not good enough. They think that they're not lovable. And then they think that their partner thinks that, right? So when they start to see, oh, these are my thoughts, I'm the one thinking this, and that's their freedom to change and become totally.
No, that's beautiful. I was about to ask you, because sometimes I'm sure people ask you this as well, Christine. I know it's my thinking, but how do I stop it?
Yeah.
So that's a very common one. I'm sure they ask you. So what would your response be to that?
When people ask me that, and they do, I know that what's happening is that they don't really see that they have innate health. Because if you see that you have innate health, you don't try to manage your thinking. But when we're all trained to figure out what's wrong with us and then do something about it, right? So we're always thinking about how to fix a problem or what we're going to do next in our life. And so what happens is people recognize that there's something that's not right about it. And then they hear, okay, this is your thinking. And then they start thinking with the same thinking about how to feel better, right? Because that's just the habit that we have, is that I got to fix what's wrong rather than just go directly to feeling better. Just go directly to being in a more beautiful feeling. And then your mind quiets on its own. But you can't really, you can change your thinking if you're really into a lot of negative thinking. You can say, oh man, I'm just really got a lot of negative thinking about this. But your ability to change that just comes from thinking about something else. It's like, then it goes away. But when people get into, like, I've got to stop this, because once you've created a thought, it's already created. You can't uncreate it. And that's what you're doing when you're trying to figure it all out. So I just really try to help people to see that with insight, when they see how thought works, then their minds will quiet. Then they'll see that they have this natural, beautiful feeling inside. That mental health and mental well-being is this really beautiful feeling, that when they know that's inside of them and it's effortless to get it, they stop with the trying. But when we're trying, that's usually part of that same thinking, and usually validates that there is something wrong with us. See, I can't change this thinking. I've tried it. I can't change it.
Yeah. This is so beautiful, Christine. And I can't wait to have you in those sessions where we have an extended session of this. You have a fantastic podcast. Psychology has got it backwards. So can you just give a brief description of the podcast and why you chose to name it that?
Yeah, the podcast is basically, we're talking about things that we see that have become commonplace in the world, even not just in psychology, that is looking at life as if the outside world is creating what you think. The outside world is creating how you feel. The outside world is creating what you do. Because it looks to people that way. That's the great illusion of thought, is that we're thinking and that's what's creating what we're seeing, but it looks like what we're seeing is creating what we're thinking. And so helping people to see that's just innocent on the part of psychology, because we started looking at things from literally from the outside, like trying to change where people live, trying to change the circumstances of people's lives, and then moving back to changing interactions with people, changing behavior, changing feelings, changing thinking. And what we're just saying is, hey, there's just one step back. And if we got to that step back where we see that all of that comes from our state of mind and is created from the inside out, then it changes how you look at everybody's diagnosis. It changes how you look at how people interact in the world. So we thought we'd maybe do 20 or 30 episodes, and we're over 100 now, because we keep coming. People will say, well, what about this? And, oh, this is another thing that people do. So we're looking at how has our thinking got distorted based on this innocent misunderstanding of how life works. And then what it looks like when you turn it around. What does that look like when you see that you're creating that experience, when that's coming from you? It was during the pandemic, and Judy Sedgman and I do it together. And we were talking about how this understanding can really help the world and change the world in a big way. And how we come up against in our work, people's thinking about that comes from their other therapy or from their training that keeps them from seeing this and the power of it. And we decided we were going to call it Two Old Broads Talking About the Truth in Psychology. And then her daughter told us that that was socially unacceptable to do that. We shouldn't do that. So what happened is I said, well, why don't we just call it what it is? That psychology has it backwards. And so it just came to me in the moment, and we went with that.
I would highly recommend anyone watching this to listen to your podcast, to subscribe to your podcast and to listen to it, because it's like full of like gold. It's amazing what you can get from that. So I'm going to put a link to your podcast so that people can find a way there. So amazing that we are having this conversation, and what the people who sign up for the program will be getting as a result of having you there with them. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ronnie, for doing this, because this is music to my ears, because I've been beating the drum on this for many years. When new, and I know you've been around in this field for a while, but when new people other than us old guys come in and pick up the ball and really start to share this with the world and do this, that's just so heartwarming to me, because I know that it will keep happening and keep going long after I've gone.
Oh, thank
So
you.
thank you.